What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Wired Wednesdays. Thanks for being here. Last week, Dave and I were both unable to join. This week, Dave is unable to join as well. So you guys have me this week. I guess there's bad snowstorms going around everywhere. Terra's experiencing some extreme weather, I guess you could call it, in Kansas and Wyoming, particularly Kansas. It's like negative there. So I'm glad I'm not there. That's for sure. But Dave is having like snowstorms, ice, everything like that. And I guess he's up in North Carolina. I guess where he is, people are like not used to that at all. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's just going to be me tonight, guys. Vinny Del Greco, what's up, man? Glad your hemorrhoids are doing better. Thanks, Vinny Del Greco. Son of a Rabbit, what's up? Crypto Craig, what's going on? Turtle Tech, Toxic Miner. Smash that like, bros. Mr. Steven Cicero, Automatic Beats, Toxic Miner. What is up, everyone? Yeah, I don't know. It's been 2 weeks, I guess, now. I know YouTube's buffering, Vinny Del Greco. It's all right. You're not missing much. But yeah, I feel like Dave and I in January were like all the schedules were all like messed up. Like every week was like something nuts. Luckily this week was a little bit easier. It's been smooth so far. It's hump day, so it's just reading the comments here. Yeah, it's hump day, so it's been a easier week, but again, Dave is dealing with a snowstorm, so wish him luck with that. Mr. Crypto Craig, how many 5090s did you line up? Honestly, Crypto Craig, none. It's I'm trying, but I'm also not gonna like buy, like $1,000 monitor to get one. I see a lot of the Newegg bundles and everything like that. I saw a bunch of funny memes online, like on X or Twitter, that were like a Best Buy thing where you buy like a refrigerator and a dishwasher, then you get a 40 or 5090. But no 5090s. I did buy sub 5080s. I want to say I panic bought them like right away, and I was like, oh well, I can always cancel it or return them or whatever. And I had an extra card, and I posted it in the Terra Discord. I was just selling it for obviously what I bought it for, but they're expensive. The Asus Tough 5080 that I got after tax was $1,588 all in. It's like crazy, just nuts, like absolutely nuts for a card that is what, like 18% slower than a 4090 and has 8 gigs less of VRAM. Yeah, it has the new stuff, the frame generation and all that, but it's I want to say the 5000 series was a letdown, except for the 5090. The 5090 is like a monster, but and it's different, right? The 3090 had 24 gigs of VRAM. The 4090 had 24 gigs, and it was like, the 4090 didn't seem like a huge upgrade, but it really was. It was an extremely powerful card. It still is. But the 5090 having 32 gigs of VRAM opens it up to be able to do different language models and all that, training these language models and all that. So it's very interesting. Sorry, I'm wearing a hat today. I didn't have time to do my hair. But I don't know. The 5090s will be interesting. Me personally, I don't know. Because I see your comments here. The scalp prices are insane. Yeah, they are. It's like, it's crazy. But the 5080 prices didn't seem that bad because they're like, they come pre-scalped. You know what I mean? Like the Asus Tough being $1,600. I mean, that's insane. It's already at that price. The 5090s are going for like still over $4,000, and that's something that's like, I was thinking of this too, like the other week, where just say you're on, okay, you guys know me, like I always I'll make Excel sheets and do all of that to see like return on this and everything like that. But for because you guys know I'm doing a lot of like vast stuff. I'm into the AI rental rigs and stuff like that. When you're running these numbers, you're like, okay, $2,000 plus tax, right? It's $140, so $2,140 all in for a 5090, assuming you can get a Founders Edition. assuming you're not getting, the ones that are going to be hit with all these other fees on them. So, all the other ones I think are what, like $2,500. So when you're doing numbers on this, like, okay, well, maybe I can rent it for 35 cents. Maybe I can rent it for 40 cents. You're basing it, or I was basing it off that price. But when you see them selling for market price, which is scalped price, right? Like, they have websites like StockX and stuff where there's like bid and ask spreads and stuff like that. It's like trading collectibles, but the market price of these are actually $4,000. So then it's like, okay, I have a $4,000, like that changes your return. You know what I mean? It really does. Even though if you get the price for cheaper, if you get it for the 2140, it does change your overall return and how quickly you're going to get it. If right now you could sell it for $4,000, and I think it was kind of interesting. And I still honestly don't know like how I would answer that. Like, just say I was on Best Buy, and let me know what you guys think in the comments too. I'm just being honest. It's like if you're on Best Buy and you check out and you're like, oh sweet, I got the 5090 $2,140 or Micro Center or whatever. I don't know if Micro Center has FEs. I don't think they do, but you get it, you check out, you get it in the mail, you open it up, and you're staring at it and you're like, okay, I could sell this for $4,000 and make $2,000. Like, would you do it? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't understand like the scalping people that like do it for like $100 or $200, right? Like, is it really worth is the juice worth the squeeze on that? You know what I mean? For some people, yeah, it's, the people do it. I've bought scalp cards before, during the Ethereum days, but $2,000, making $2,000 on a card right away. I mean, that's crazy. And like I said, there's websites out there that just, you're not even selling it to someone. You're selling it to a company who's buying it for that then selling it for whatever the market price is, right? I don't know. If I got a 5090, honestly, at this point, I think I would sell it and make $2,000 off of it, and then use that for other things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's crazy to think about, because I do have my builds here. You guys can see some of them, but I'm kind of I don't know. I'm at like my limit, I think, on what I want to manage. It's just a lot. Steven Cicero, yeah, my sister's in Virginia Beach and they get an inch of snow and everyone forgets how to drive. Yeah, it's crazy. Smashing like we're 78 in South Florida today, a bit chilly. Yeah, I was at the beach the other day. It's this time of year that you really like South Florida, besides all the people that are down here, obviously. How are the vast prices for the 5090? I know early on they were up there, but I think that was just a lack of supply. I don't know. Let me pull that up real quick, Crypto Craig. Where is it? I honestly haven't even seen a 5000 series on Vast. Oh, they have them up in Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine has one. They have South Africa, Netherlands. That's interesting. Unavailable offers. Let's see. They have one here. I don't want to share this because I'm signed into my thing, but what's that one website, the Grafana website? I'll just pull that up. I have it saved somewhere. Yeah, let me try to pull it up. Every time I go to this website, I just feel like it's putting malware straight into my computer. GPU stats. I know it's do they even have this one updated for this? Yeah, they do. Okay, let me switch over to this. I have this chart up here that it's just kind of going over. Here we go. See, I think there's a dark mode for this. I don't know. Okay, let's clear selections and go to 5090s. Zoom in a little bit on this. Supply is not high. There's a total of 10 or 11 or 12, 13, 14. So 15 total as of today. And the price is anywhere from, I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. $1. That's actually crazy. It's 4 times. Let me see if that's actually. Let me just switch over to. Let me switch over to North America. Yeah, the 5090s. They have one rented out right now for $1.72 an hour, which is nuts. I don't think it's going to stay at that. I think that it's the people that are jumping on the 5090s right now, renting it, I think are testing it, seeing like how it does on whatever platform they're doing or whatever project that they're on, right? If they're cracking passwords or seed phrases or whatever they're doing, they're probably renting these to see what it's like, right? So yeah, it's interesting. It's a lot to handle during tax season. Yeah. 10 inches in Missouri and Kansas. Yeah, no, I'm good, King. AG, who in their right mind would pay double the price for a card? I would wait it out and get my own at $21.40. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's paying $4,000 a card. Like that's insane. But then it's also like, if you got one for $21.40, would you sit on it? I mean, like, I don't know. If I could sell it for $4,000 and make $2,000 instantly, I would do it. Call it scalping or whatever, but I think a lot of people would do the same thing. It's just too much, right? It's not just a couple $100. It's a lot. So, what's up, Mike? Mr. Hot Crypto Mining. Yep, I'm solo tonight. Dave is dealing with snowstorms, so that's just what it is. It's yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think that this is just the like I said, testing these cards out, seeing how they're doing, and seeing if it's worth it on the host side, right? I don't think I'm going to do any 5090s personally. Single card rigs don't really. It might be good for a couple months, right? But then I feel like it's going to kind of die down. And again, if I got a 5090 now, I'm probably going to just sell it. But I'm not actively on the hunt or anything like that. But the 5080s have been, like I said, those are, I've been selling them for what I'm getting them for, which is a lot. 1,600 for a 5080 is insane. But the good thing is it keeps the 4090 prices up, right? Because I have quite a few of those. So being 18% better and having a new MSRP for 1,600 keeps the 4090 right at around that $2,000, which is great. Sell and take the money, put it all in meme coins. There we go, Vidi Del Greco. Finally, some financial advice we can share to everyone. But yeah, from Terra's standpoint, we've been talking quite a lot about AI and like the future of where we see things going and where we could tweak a couple things and all of that. And we're kind of, toying with the idea of, getting away from the consumer cards. They're problematic. Seems like that. I mean, the drivers for 4090s are not meant really for what they're doing. They don't fine-tune gaming drivers. You know what I mean? They do have server drivers for them, but they're not the same as traditional data center cards like A6000 ADAs and L40Ss. But the consumer grade cards have a higher return, which is, or a quicker return, I guess would be the better way to put it. So yeah, I don't know. We're testing a couple different things at Terra. I know my personal rigs, I've been having problems with. I had one that got de-verified, then unverified, and then I had to, I don't know, I put a new NVMe in it. Something was corrupted. I don't know what it was. I had no time to figure it out, but I gave it a new machine ID, so I had to go through the whole verification process again. And it's just a lot to maintain 4 of these things. It seems like there's always an issue with it. And last time I was up there, in Melbourne, I converted an open air to a server case, and then I had to. There was the weirdest thing, which Dave helped me out with. That was the one of the cables was like reversed or something. It was like shorting the board out from the power breakout board from the power supply from these Chinese server cases. Super weird stuff. But yeah, they're just finicky, and having the time to deal with it is like, it's a lot. But the juice is worth the squeeze still. That's why I do it. I complain about it, but I still do it. Mr. Max Voltage, I still want a 5090. Max, what would you do? Because I know I asked this question before, but like, if you got one for 2140, would you keep it or would you sell it and make $2,000 right away? Because that's where it's like, I know I keep going back to that topic, call it scalping or whatever, but like being able to just go on StockX and make $2,000, I mean, that's crazy. 5090 scalpers killing it. Yeah, it's yeah, they're making a lot, Mike. It's but there's not a lot of stock. There's like not a lot of stock of 5090s at all. I think that it was a paper launch completely. But what, Micro Center had like what, 200 of them or something like that? It's nuts. I want a setup that doesn't burn the power cards and the house up. Yeah. The 5090s are also having this huge problem with these power connectors, right? And like luckily on our open air frames, we have veteran miner cables. So like, we're not too worried about that aspect, but these Chinese server cases have the 12 pins that are like directly wired to the breakout board. And like, I know, and I'm sure everyone here knows that that's like not the best way probably to do this, right? It's, or not the best way. It is the best way to do it. It's not the best way to pull 600 watts through here, which, I power limit all my rigs. I leave the 4090s anywhere between 380 and 400 watts, depending on, I've just seen them temperamental sometimes if it's a little too low. I've done 350 on some before, but it starts affecting performance. But yeah, if you forget to switch the 5090s down, or you don't at all power limit them and you just have 600 watts, coming through, I mean, these Chinese cables are going to be the first ones to go. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Oh, Mike sold all his 4090s for $8,300. Yeah, man, I think about it every day. Like, oh, I should sell some, I should keep them. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, right? Like, if you sell them, you're smart. If you keep them, you're kind of smart. You know what I mean? Like, I'm holding on to mine for now. They're making enough, every month that it seems like a good bet for me to keep. And I've also been keeping a very close eye on the 5000 series and seeing the stock. There's some of these websites that some of my buddies are like a part of and stuff, and you can see like the stock, like at the inventory levels of some of these retailers. You can see how many they have in stock, not just if it's in stock. And these 5000 series are just like barely here, especially the 5090, right? Because the 5090 is going to be the only card that's somewhat beneficial to people doing AI. The 5080 is not going to be, be worth it. Actually, we could switch over to the 5080 here. How many there's two 5080s on here, and they are rented for 25 cents. See, I feel like that is going to drop quick. Is a 4090 has a lot more AI capabilities than a 5080. And a 4090, last time I looked, let's see if the 4090, there's not enough 5000 series yet to actually affect the market for compute. But yeah, Craig, when is a 5090 8-card rig? Yeah. I would keep it for at least a little while for content. But the thing is, once you open it, it's used and it's not worth as much. That's the thing with StockX. You can literally just click one button and just mail it to them, and they find the buyer or whatever. They do it on that side, but they pay you. You deal with the company. You know what I mean? Once it's open, then you got to find someone to sell it to, and they're going to say it's broken or doesn't work or something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, doing content on it would be cool. But I mean, what's the difference between, I guess you can obviously physically have it, but I mean, couldn't you just go on Vast and rent a 5090 and just, do the content with that, like run whatever you wanted to run on it, do whatever tests you wanted on it? Couldn't you just rent one to kind of do the content on it? I can't get them. I tried. Yeah, CryptoCrate. Even my reseller can't get them, and I have direct reseller contacts. Yeah, we have we've talked with one group. We're friendly with PNY. We kind of we bought all of our data center cards, from PNY. So even them, they're like, I think the guy told us they estimate June. That's like an ETA for when they'll have 5090s, like being able to even assign them to orders, which our experience with PNY on the consumer grade cards is like a joke. You know what I mean? We put an order for 50 in for the 4090s, and this was like a year after they even came out, and it was still like they sent us 10, and then it was just nothing. I mean, just nothing after that. And then, we don't know when we're gonna have them. We don't know when we can ship them. So it's kind of like we feel like it's going to be the same exact thing with this. And again, we don't want to go the route of worrying about pulling 600 watts through a card, worrying about all this other stuff. Like, we kind of have just been, more toying with the idea of, hey, if we can get this much for 4090s right now, and the price of the data center cards have come down, then maybe it's a good time to swap over to just, more, AI, or not AI, more data center cards, like the ADA cards, and go that route, because we never have issues with those cards. We've had one issue, but it was like a power issue, which is completely unrelated to the machine. But it's not any of this janky slim sass and trying to route all the power through, daisy chain power supplies. Like, it's just easy. It's simple. It works. It's easy. The problem with those is finding people to rent them. Smash the like, bros. Have you tried the Octoserver 4090 AI cards? I have not, but I know Mining Kiing has quite the experience with those. They seem like they're working well. I mean, whenever I'm there, I just hear them humming along. Actually, I don't think they hum. I don't think they have fans. Do they have fans, Jarrett? Mining Kiing, Jarrett. I don't know. Scott Sheffield, what's up, man? Welcome to Wired Wednesday, Scott Sheffield. We are back this week. Northern Crypto and Tech, what is up? I wish I could get some of the 4090 blowers like you have. Yeah, I don't know. They definitely work better in the server cases, 100%. 2 slot cards, like, that's the way to go. But the problem is reselling them. I always look at, like, anything that I buy, I'm like, how am I going to sell this down the road? Like, one of my open air 4090 rigs has like 4 Strixes on it, like MSI Supremes. Is it Supreme? Is that how they? I don't know. There's no E. But I always think, like, okay, when I'm selling this down the road, what's going to be my best bet? I will definitely not use 5090s in the Octoserver. Only 2 EPS connectors to 1 12-pin. Yikes. Yeah, I don't know. These 5090s are going to be interesting to see how. I think once the AI guys get like a hold of these, and I don't think anyone's really going to use it for crypto mining, or if they do, it's more than likely going to be like board level. You're not going to be using a riser or anything like that, because it's not going to be multi card. But I think the AI guys are probably going to be testing this out. And if people playing games, if you're loading up COD and you're running this for an hour and it burns up the cable, I don't even want to know what these what training language models will do to it. It'll just completely destroy it. But Magic China boxes, half designed for spying and the other half to burn your house down. Exactly. I always kind of thought, like, I always had a conspiracy theory that they were using this to build like a computer over here. You know what I mean? In America, like, China was like, how can we sneak a bunch of computers over to the US and have them running everywhere? But the people in this community are really smart, so I feel like they would find that. You know what I mean? Like, you would see like packets going in weird places, and you'd be like, "Oh, that looks kind of strange." Mr. Max Voltage, have you seen the 4090s falling off of VAST? That's why I'm not selling in it for the long term. Yeah, I mean, VAST is like a love-hate relationship. Like, I'm cordial with it right now, but like, I'll have weeks that are just great, fully rented, no problems, everything is great, and then I'll have weeks that are like, it seems like they just fell off the earth. And then, my biggest problem with VAST, and let me know if you're having the same thing, Max, is like, I'll randomly have the weirdest issues. Like, my machine won't be rented for like 2 days, and I'll look and I'll search it, right? And I'll search a machine ID, and it's just nowhere. And like, there's this one time where I was working with the VAST guys, and they were helping me with it. And I had to edit so many files and like go through thousands of lines of code and change this to that. And it was just like, just so many problems with one or two of my rigs. Luckily, right now I have four 8-card ones. They're all fairly identical. The fourth one is having a GPU bandwidth issue, and I'm pretty sure I know what's wrong with it. At the last second, while I was in Melbourne, I switched it with another Epic board that I had that had more cores, and I don't think I did anything in the BIOS, so I don't think I set the 8x or whatever. I can see that it's running at Gen 4 8x, but something's finicky with it. We'll put it that way. And it switches. It's like it shows you which GPU ID, but it switches to all of them. 1700 have fallen off since 128. Now at only 4771. Let me pull that up, Max. That's interesting. 4090s. Let's take off the 5080s. Is this what you're talking about? What date is this? 216. Oh no. Okay. How do I? Let me do the last 30 days. What date did you say? 128. Okay, so that wasn't exactly 30 days ago, but 128 right here. A total of available rented 6416 compared to 477. Jeez. Why is that? What do you think, Max? That's wild. I didn't even look at that. The chart doesn't show that very well. I guess you see. Oh, I'm looking at the rented amount. Okay, so the rental amount has it's gone down a little bit, but yeah, we've had. Oh, you see it here on the top one. So sorry, today's been kind of long. This chart is actually perfect. It's the user error. Yeah, maybe these guys are just finding other platforms and going for like, maybe a platform could find them possibly like a contract term. You know what I mean? Like one where you're just not trying to rent it to whoever, but like a company will come in and just say, hey, I want this for a month. You know what I mean? Like I have one of my rigs right now is reserved. I always offer on all my rigs like I forgot what I can tell you guys right now on the thing. The reserved instance pricing factor. I always put that as 0.2 on my rigs. And the reason for that is I'd much rather take a lower amount but have stable income for longer periods of time. And so I have someone that's reserved on there. I don't know for how long, but the last guy that was reserved on there was on for a while. And whatever this guy's doing is not intense at all. He's using all the GPUs, but they're like maybe at 100 watts each or 120, somewhere around there. Huge drop off though, Max. That's interesting. I have not seen that. Yeah, it is wild. I assume you can use A6000 or the L40S in the Octo server. We probably, yeah. I mean, we can use. I assume we would be able to do that. But our data center cards are in a ASRock server. It's a dual epic, terabyte of RAM. We bought the server new, but it didn't come with the CPUs or the RAM, so I installed those, and then we put the data center cards in there, and those work. The only thing with the L40S that we didn't know at the time was the L40S is very close to the A6000 ADA, but its adapter for the 12 pin has 3 8 pins on it, and so we ordered like the two 8 pins to single 12 pin, which the A6000 ADAs came with. And when I plugged all that in, it did not work. Like somehow it sensed like you're only using 2. You know what I mean? It needs 3. So luckily we had some handy dandy GPURisers splitter cables there that we shoved in there, and it's working just fine. So L40S is 2 slot. They should be fine. Yeah, not sure the intention was A5000 and 4090s. Yeah, I think it would be fine. The L40Ss, unlike the A6000 ADAs, also are kind of like the 4090 AI editions. There's no fan on them. So over these stupid power connectors. Yeah, I am too, Scott. GPURisers, yes, they have bugs. They should be able to implement a cron job that should clear the issue when your machine isn't searchable. Yeah, that sounds good. Being able to do something that's just simple. I don't know what even causes it. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. And then my fourth one that I had, that I'm having these bandwidth issues again, which I think is, I'm 90% sure it's just the BIOS. That machine had the same issue where it wasn't searchable. And then there was one time where I rebooted it and it's just not showing up in VAST at all. And then you look at you do all the fun little commands to see like the VAST status, and it's like, oh, it's active, it's running, and it's like, well, not really. So I had to reinstall VAST, do that. Luckily, it kept the same machine ID. It's a love-hate relationship, Max, like you're saying here. Currently more toward hate, as I only have 5 out of the 15 4090s rented. Max, what setup do you have? I know you have an 8-card one, right? I'm interested to see which ones what you have. You have an 8-card, and I think you have like a couple like smaller ones, maybe a 4-card or a 5-card. People are selling their 4090s, I think. I mean, it's hard. It's hard not to, right? Like I literally every day I wake up and I think about it. Like, I'm brushing my teeth and I'm like, you could sell all those, you know? But I just I don't know. It's hard. I bought majority of my 4090s. I paid whatever MSRP was, which I think was like $16.99 plus tax, $17.49. The MSI Supremes I paid, I got for $1,700 a piece. The only ones I paid a lot for were the Strixes, which were I think $18.99. I did pay a large premium on those, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy what these things are going for. It's hard to like, because I have like a whole spreadsheet for all my AI stuff, right? Like how much I've spent, how much, what my return is on that. But what's so wild about this situation is that, like, especially with the 5000 series coming out, which I believe boosted the price of the 4090s, is that your return gets, like, your equipment value is, raises, month over month. It's been getting more and more. It's been, usually it depreciates, but it's been appreciating, so it's like, not only did you spend all this money to make this money, and like, yeah, it's making good money and you're getting your return, but you could sell all the shit that you bought. Because all the Epic boards are worth more too. Everything has gone up, but all the shit that I bought a year ago, I can now sell for more. You know what I mean? It's kind of nuts. It's crazy. But yeah, I do think about it often. It's just hard to pass up the income. But then it would also be a shame to hold on to all of it, and then NVIDIA just, one day just dumping into the market a bunch of 5090s, right? Because that would really hurt the value of the 4090s. But they're not going to do that because it keeps up the value of their 5080s, right? So I'm playing the capitalism game with that. I know what NVIDIA is doing. Atomic Adam, what's up, bro? 3 to 4 years later, and all my GPURisers are still rocking. I appreciate it, man. It's glad to hear that. That was always the weakest part of mining rigs, which coincidentally now in AI rigs, it seems like the weakest part is the Slim SAS, which is really just a fancy GPU riser. You know what I mean? Just one spreadsheet, Scott Sheffield. I find that hard to believe. Yeah, well, I have my, I have more than one spreadsheet, but all the crap that I bought is on one spreadsheet, right? And then I have, all the other stuff, but I do keep track of the prices. It is one spreadsheet, but there's like 4 or 5 tabs on it. But yeah, I have like a whole different column on my spreadsheet now for, originally it was like farm depreciation, right? Like you paid, just say, 40 grand a year ago, and now it's worth 30 grand. You lost 10 grand of equipment value, but you made 20 grand by renting it out on VAST, right? So you're still up. But that number is not a depreciation number anymore. It's everything appreciated. And I did get really lucky about, I want to say, what month was it? I think it might have been November or October. I had 3 rigs yeah, I had 3 8-card rigs and 2 2-card rigs. Does that make sense? Yeah, I had 28 cards, and the 3 were kind of getting a pain to manage and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, I kind of just want to get rid of one. So I sold one to Mining Kiing, and about a week later, I almost immediately regretted it. I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that, and I should have held on to it, because you obviously your weekly income's going down, and you're like, well, I got the money up front, but I could have managed it. I was just kind of being a baby and all that kind of stuff. So right after that, in November, I bought 12 4090s. I sold some Flux at the time, and I bought 12 4090s at $1,400 a piece. And that was like kind of my price point, where it was like I just couldn't pass that up. And then with that, those 12, I added the 2 2-card ones I had, and then made 2 more 8-card ones. But then I had to buy the server cases. Those were like $2,300 a pop. So I have 3 of those now, and then my 4th one's still open air, but that one's been rock solid, so I don't want to touch it. And it has the Strixes on it, so I like looking at it too. It's not a Zotac one there that's like blinding you with a bunch of stuff on the side. I'm not shitting on Zotac, but it's Zotac. But very interesting, Mr. Max Voltage, seeing these 4090s. I mean, that's a good thing for us, right? We're still rented on the markets, and it looks like the total rental rates, I mean, how many were rented here or verified? 31, I guess 3,000 to 3,100, and now we're at 2,600, which, yeah, it's down, but it's not as down as the percentage drop of what is available. So super interesting. Super interesting. I'm surprised there's actually a lot of these are just rented. Or I'm sorry, I'm looking at the verified and unverified. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of unverified. So it looks like they verified a good amount. But who knows? Maybe there's been a large client on VAST this whole time. Who knows? No one will know. Man Cave Tech, what's up, bro? Which server cases? Octa ones? No. I am using these Chinese ones, which I can show here. Let me log into eBay. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to change my password. Don't make me change my password. Okay, I think I got it here. Okay. How do I switch this screen now? Present, stop screen, share screen, eBay. It's this one. And the fun thing with this is this guy, I'm sure you guys noticed his name, Tug M. I worked with him to get this listed on here because I needed an 8-card one. I was like frantically looking for one that can fit full-size 8 cards. And so he sent me a bunch of photos on WhatsApp, and I was like, well, can you just list this on eBay to make it easier? And so he did. The fun thing about this is every single one I get in is different, and you never know what surprises it comes with. Like I said, the last one I got in, the whole front was black. It was like powder coated. The inside was powder coated. And then instead of this, the cage here for the drives, it had it on the sides here, like 2 and 2. And I was like, that's kind of cool because it gives you more flexibility for like longer motherboards and just to have more space so the motherboard's not so crammed. I was like, that's kind of neat. And then the cables that connected both of those to power both of those drive bays or whatever, that cable that was routed all through to the board was the cable that was shorting it and not allowing it to boot. And that was like, I'm not even joking, it was like 8 hours of troubleshooting. I had to take everything out. You know, I tried the board with an ATX power supply, it booted fine. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then finally I took that cable out, and because I don't use those anyways, I just use an NVMe. It booted just fine, just perfect. It's Caveman Tech. Yeah, just search. Go to Tug M4470. I'm sure a lot of people buying stuff from this guy. He's like the supplier of AI stuff. But yeah, I really like these cases. They're loud. I do not recommend having this in your bedroom. But what's nice about it is it just moves a ton of air. Like the card, you don't have to worry about your cards ever really getting hot, which is, I was super skeptical about this because you see the layout, right? I mean, like you have the heat from the front cards going to the back cards. When I first saw this, I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then some of the other server styles I saw from some AI guys is where they had like a 10U and they just had 4 4090s on top of it. So like it looked like a pickup truck, you know what I mean? It had like the front that was like kind of, like super tall, and then the back was just, where the motherboard was. And that takes up a ton of rack space. But this moves so much air. There's like 5 Delta fans in the middle, and then there's 5 in the back. And it's closed, right? So it's all contained. I mean, it moves so much air that, by the time the heat is even sitting anywhere, it's blows out the back. So I do recommend this. And what's cool about this is it comes with obviously the case, but it comes with the power supplies. It comes with 4 1600 watt redundant power supplies, which is great because my 8-card ones on open air were 4 1600 watt EVGAs that were daisy chained, just a disaster waiting to happen. And it comes with all the slim SAS, like all the stuff you need for that. So all you need with this is just the Epic board. I would suggest like a 2U cooler or possibly even 1U. I would do a 1U cooler. 2U cooler will work, because I had all the Noctua big ones that did not work. But you have that, your cards, and you're good to go. And Max, funny how you made surprises sound so positive. Yeah, there will be surprises. You never know what it's going to be either. You know what I mean? It's like spinning the wheel. The first, what did I have wrong with the first one? The first one didn't come with server rails. I think I forgot to include that. And the second one didn't come with motherboard standoffs. So I had to buy motherboard standoffs, and then those didn't fit. So then I had to super glue them in, which they are still super glued. It's holding on great. And then with this third one I got, I'm like, this is the revision. This is the perfect one. It's going to come in. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to be in Melbourne for maybe an hour tops. You know what I mean? In and out. I'm going to be home right away. And then yeah, I got home at 3:30 in the morning that night. And then I forgot to, because I swapped the motherboards. I think I mentioned I swapped the motherboards thinking something was wrong with it. It wasn't the motherboard at all. But I don't think I changed the BIOS settings on it. So that's my B. But yeah, I mean, Vast has been doing well. I certainly do not have any complaints with Vast. Seeing the 4090s go down is also interesting. I did not know that prior to this, so I think it's good. I'm going to hold on to mine. I don't really have an intention of selling them. Also doing some kind of tests with them, I think, in the future, maybe, with some Terra stuff. But I don't know. It's tempting. It's tempting. You've seen these cards go for like $2,200-$2,300. It's like, it's nuts. It's just crazy. But yeah, I think what what are these going for? Let's go to sold. I mean, you're gonna see a bunch of non-4090s here. Let's go to the first 4090. Here we go. Look at that. $22.49. $22.49. And you have to pay for shipping. Another $18 for shipping. Just crazy. 4080 Super is going for $15.60. Like, that's wild. That's just, I don't know who's buying this either. This, I mean, because this is obviously a gamer, right? But just get a 5080. I mean, the 5080s are going to be so readily available here soon. 4090 Aero for $2,000. Okay, that one must have sold. That even says new listings. So that was probably listed and then instantly purchased. Look at this. See, this is what keeps me up at night. I can get $2,800 for the Asus, or the Asus, not Asus. God, today's been long. The these Strixes. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. But yeah, I mean, it's propped up, right? It's propped up by the 5080 prices. And the 5080 prices all had a price increase. So, you know, like the Asus TUF that I got was $1,600 after tax. And it's 18% slower than a 4090. So even if you were to just put like $1 for, or like putting $1 cost on the performance, and it's 18% better on a $1,600 card. Let's see, 1,600 times 1.18 is $1,888. So $1,900, if you're just basing the price on performance, is what a 4090 should be worth. And then you have the 5090s, which is, if we put another, let's just add 20% to that, 1.2, around 2265, which is priced around a 5090 if they were available. So what's keeping these prices up is the scarcity of 5090s. So even if they become readily available, though, you're always going to be locked into 18% higher. In my opinion, my view on this is you're always going to be at that $1,900 to $2,000 range because of the price of these cards. And Asus TUF being $1,600, I mean, Asus TUF is not like top of the line model. You know what I mean? They have some of the Astrals that are like, I think they're like 1,800 new or something. It's like, you know, with all tax included, it's just crazy, just crazy. So what's up, Frogman? Wow, yeah, it is. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's I don't even know what to think of it anymore. But like you, Max, I'm just gonna kind of be chilling. I'm gonna hold on to them for a while. There's definitely no rush to get rid of these. So, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to get rid of them, right? I don't know, that's the thing. It bothers me every day. But as long as the compute value is there, you know what I mean? It's hard to pass up. Would I buy them right now to do AI? No, I would not, you know, pay $2,200 for a card. But who knows? Maybe the price for compute will, I mean, everything kind of trickles around, right? With like the tariffs and everything like that, that companies are going to be experiencing. Companies already saw a bump with stuff. That's why the prices, the Asus TUF was originally, I think, all in with tax like $1,450 or $1,440. And then like 2 weeks later, because of everything, just everything going on, that's when it got bumped. So it's just propped up. All these prices are just propped up. You know, I just don't see prices dropping anytime soon. And yeah, I wouldn't definitely not be spending this money to get into AI right now. It's too much. And I don't think NVIDIA is going to have any availability at all for any of their stuff anytime soon. They're going to be pushing these 5080s out, 5070 Ti's, 5070s, kind of taking the heat off the 5090s, and then they're just going to keep. It's artificially, you know, creating artificial scarcity. It is a business tactic, and it makes sense to do so, you know, from their end, right? Like, it's not just flooding the market with these things. They want to create demand there. It creates stories. It creates people waiting out, you know, in lines and all that. And it's I get it from their end, but it sucks for us, right? But who knows? Who knows? Maybe within a year, these things you'll be able to go to Best Buy and get it off the shelf, or Micro Center and get it off the shelf. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I know the 4090s were pretty much always difficult to get, except for, I want to say, the last couple months. They were very, very difficult to get. Is Flux with their NVIDIA partnership changing the market for home compute? Flux. I don't know. I saw on their release, or I was watching a little bit of the live stream, you know, kind of all the big points, and kind of read a little bit about it after. It looks like they teamed up with another company too, as well, to provide compute on Flux Edge for like H100s and like high-end cards and everything like that. But I didn't understand exactly why they did that, other than, well, I guess it makes sense, right? Like if they're going around trying to find demand, trying to find customers to rent the compute from us, right? Like if you have customers that are like, oh, that's great, it's really cool what you guys are doing, like we'll, instead of us renting H100s from like a large scale data center from a blue chip company, we'll rent them from you guys for a fraction of the cost. And then Flux kind of being like, oh, well, we don't have those, but we have 4090s, and then the 4090s that we have might be in someone's garage, and you know what I mean? Like it's more difficult to get clients on the demand side to come to the platform if you don't already have like well-established compute there. You know what I mean? So I think it's good. I don't know if it's changing the market for home compute. I'm interested to see what what's it called, Arcane or something? Basically like an OS that you could just install, right? Where you have a flash drive, you install it, and it just installs everything, right? That would kind of be the ideal scenario. I know that they also mentioned a web-based FluxEdge for management. When they first released FluxEdge, I don't know if it was the alpha or the beta or whatever, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way now. You have to be like on the network, the local network, to control it. And I was like, why is that even a thing? Why, like there should be a web UI kind of like Hive OS where you can control remotely what all your crap is doing. You know what I mean? So I don't think their NVIDIA partnership is going to affect anything too large. I mean, it's great, right? Like it's definitely awesome that they got that. It shows that they're on the right track with everything. But for them to have home compute readily available on their marketplace, they're going to have to make this a little easier and more streamlined, because it was not easy and not streamlined when I was doing it. It's like comparing that to just setting up Vast. I was like, I'm just going to set up Vast. You know what I mean? And then I can control it remotely. I can SSH into it remotely. And I know there's ways to do it, right? Like you can have another computer there, or you can have a cluster, or Proxmox. Like I get that there's ways to do it. It's just for the average Joe, it was a little above and beyond. And I think they're working on that. I mean, they've acknowledged it, and they're working towards that. But I don't know. I think they also need to set more requirements for it. I mean, you don't want like a flood. The idea, right? Like I feel like there was this like whole idea with AI when it was first coming out with rentals, where it was like, oh, like, rent out your mining rigs when you're not mining on it, or vice versa. If you're not renting, then mine on it. I don't think that that's like a reality. Like the AI machines compared to GPU mining hardware, like just say an Octaminer, for example, is vastly different, right? Like you do not want a R8, like you don't want to be renting an R8 full of 3090s to do your AI workloads, right? It's going to be single PCIe lanes. You're going to have a Xeon processor. You're going to have, is it Xeon or Celeron, or you know what I mean? It's not going to be great. So I think what I'm getting at, short story long, Vinny Del Greco, is that they need to have some requirements, right? Like Vast has requirements to get verified. You have to have this speed. You have to have this bandwidth on your GPUs. You have to have like all these different things to be verified. And I think Flux needs that. But in the beginning, of course, they're going to be like, just anyone that can come on the platform will come on the platform, because they need to show thousands of GPUs to show, the consumers of the compute, right? The people that are trying to sell the compute to, like, hey, we have all this great stuff. But then you're sifting through a bunch of shit. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, definitely don't want this, don't want that. And from my experience, because we're working with a full stack dev now to do, it's a really cool Terra project that we're working on, which you guys will see soon, definitely before Mining Disrupt. But we've been showing him a lot of the Vast stuff, like all this AI things, and he's been very involved in the developmental side of a bunch of stuff, right? Like he's a coder and all that fun stuff. He doesn't, like, he knows all the software side, but if you were to tell him, hey, this VM that you want me to spin up for this, do you want me to have it on a, Gen 1 lane at 8x? Is that okay? Like, it wouldn't be something that he would really know, or like he wouldn't think about, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like a lot of the consumers that are going on to Flux Edge, they might rent a machine that's just garbage. Like, it might look good, but then it's like, oh, I'm renting a 3090, but it's in an R8. You know what I mean? They don't know that, and then they rent it, and they're like, "What the fuck is it?" You know what I mean? I feel like that's happening more often than not. Whereas when you go on to Vast, it has more requirements, right? Like, you select verified, you select this and that, and you're like, you kind of know what machine you're going to get because Vast has something that's constantly testing it. You know what I mean? It's I feel like they just need something. They need something like that, but from the business side, you gotta have a lot there. You have to have a lot of offerings available. So I don't know. But I hope so. I've always been a big fan of the Flux project. I love the Flux team. All of those guys are great. But yeah, they gotta figure out how to make this stupid simple. You know what I mean? Keep it stupid simple type thing. So if you sold them, what would you replace them with? My 4090s, honestly, smash the like birds. If I sold my 4090s, I would regret it again, and I'd probably try to buy more 4090s. I wouldn't want to replace with 5090s. The 600 watt stuff it creeps me out. It's like you see these things burning up, and then you see them in these environments where they're, basically being mined on, right? Like being completely hammered. Even if you power limit it, you're going to be power limiting it to maybe 5.25. You know what I mean? And I just don't, nothing that has been made, especially in the AI side, right? Like these sketchy Chinese server cases, like nothing has been made in anticipation of pulling 600 watts, right? Like 450 was like the most. And even with that, it's kind of like a little bit high. So I don't know. I'm going to hold on to them for a while. I'm going to hold on to them. Mr. Max Voltage, need GPUs to attract customers, but home hosting isn't going to deploy without demand. Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, it's not like mining, right? Like mining was so easy in the idea that it's like, oh well, my yield is lower this week. Why is it lower? Oh, a bunch of people got on the network and stuff like that. Like when you have these AI and compute builds that you're doing, like you're going to go to whatever platform is going to pay you the most, right? Like it's just how it goes. There's like a spread, a bid-ask spread for compute. And if you're on a platform that's not renting your compute out, then you're going to move to a different platform. That's as simple as that. But yeah, they need to figure out, I know that they have some kind of verification badges that they're working on. I honestly have not used Flux Edge in a while, so I wish I should. That's what this machine was always for. You guys can't see it in the thing, but I have like an Epic desktop there. That's what it was for. But never got to it. It's one of those projects that's just kind of collecting dust right now. But the idea is great, and that's why I still like huge supporter of Flux. I had to sell my Flux to put in other investments in that, but I ended up buying Flux back once they actually got on Kraken, right? Because it was, I mean, we got to be honest. It's super annoying to buy Flux. It's super annoying to sell Flux. Like it's annoying, and there's no U.S. exchanges that like do it. So anytime I did do it, I would have to go to Simple swap it for like Litecoin, and then it's like there's slippage. So it's like, okay, I'm going to lose 4% on this, which is a lot. I mean, like imagine selling stocks, and every time you click sell, it's like, hey, you're gonna lose 4%. It's like, what do you mean? Like that's a ton. And it adds up. So it's kind of like, I'm super happy it's on Kraken now. That's where I bought it. So I have the Kraken app on my phone. It's simple. I don't have to have a VM to go into Zelcore and do that and worry about all that stuff. So I know it's me just being lazy, but I am back invested with Flux. If you have a good team and you have a good vision and a good product, and the Flux does have a good product, they just need to keep getting it in front of the right people. They need to have more partnerships, right? Like the NVIDIA partnership is great, but I think that they need to work with other providers that already have the system built, right? Like if it's not broken, don't fix it type thing, where, why not team up with a company like Vast? You know what I mean? Vast would have an expansive marketplace, and they both could complement each other in their own ways. You know what I mean? Also, people on Flux Edge getting paid out in Flux, I think that's a problem too. As much as I want to be supportive of crypto projects and like, hey, stay in crypto and do this, a lot of these AI guys are a lot different than the crypto mining guys. That's one thing I've noticed, and I've worked with a lot of them over the past year, is like they don't want to get paid in a coin again, which is different now with Kraken, I guess, right? But you don't want to get paid in a coin that then you're going to get a 4% slippage on, and then sell it, and then finally get the coin over to Coinbase and then pay a fee to sell it, right? It's just you don't want to deal with that. So there needs to be something a little more simple, and I think Flux has a lot of, like, one thing Flux did that I really liked is that if someone pays with a credit card for Flux, to be able to go on Flux Edge and rent whatever, you know what I mean? It does a market buy order for that Flux, which in theory should raise the price of Flux, right? Because you have more demand for the coin. In theory, I don't know if they're using like an off, some pool that's not on an exchange. I don't know. Why is my screen getting so dim? Okay, there it goes. I don't know exactly how it's going, but from my understanding is it's they're buying at market price. So they, I guess, but then also the people that are getting paid in Flux are going to be instantly selling the Flux, right? It's not like mining where it's like, oh, I'm going to get a little bag of this. Or if they do that with compute, it's probably going to be small. So then you have all the compute side just instantly selling the Flux. So if they didn't have it at a market price and they had some pool that's off exchange, and then all of a sudden they're paying out everyone and everyone's selling right away, it's going to tank the price because there's going to be a lot more sell orders on the market. You know what I mean? So it's confusing. And honestly, I've thought about it a million different ways, and like, I don't know. Because it needs to be more than just a compute marketplace. It has to be more than a compute marketplace. So how are they going to implement all that together, right? I don't know. Hobbyist Miner, what's up, man? Came for Dave, but stayed for Mike. I know Dave couldn't make it today. He has extreme weather conditions. I think that's what he said today. So, but thanks for joining, man. Soon you're going to need a 2400 watt PSU just for GPUs. Frogman, I was thinking that too. It's you know what I think the limit is going to be finally, where like people are going to have to go to NVIDIA and be like, you got to cut this shit, is when like people's breakers are just going to not be able to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, I was talking to, I think Dave, I was actually talking to Dave about this. His office is like butted up, I think, to his daughter's room. And there's two outlets on there. And it just so happens, I think both desks are on there. So they're both on the same breaker, but different outlets. And it'll trip the breaker sometimes. Like if both computers are going full bore, he said sometimes it could trip the breaker. And so it's like, how many watts can a computer run? Because I have a 4090 in here, all this crap that's on my desk. I would say, actually, I know exactly how much I'm pulling because I have a little battery backup thing that beeps at me all the time. I pull about 800 watts when I'm maxed out on everything, like all the lights and everything. Like it's about 800 watts. But you add, a 5090 to the mix, that's another 150 watts. So that's 950 watts. So then even if I wanted to upgrade mine, I'm going to have to get a new thing because it screams at me. But how far do you get? I mean, you're going to have to make sure your home computer or your gaming computer, whatever it is almost like a mining rig back in the day, where it has to be on its own breaker. People are going to have to start worrying where their breakers are. And if people have bad cables and they use cheap cables or cheap wiring, then all of a sudden you have fire hazards because you're pulling 1,000 watts at your wall. Not that NVIDIA necessarily cares, but it's I don't know. It's interesting to see. Other people in other countries aren't going to be affected by it. I think a lot of other countries are just on, higher voltage. But us here in the States, we have, bald eagles, but we also have low wattage or low amps, or I'm sorry, volts. Hobbyist Miner selling 75% of my flux when it finally pumps. I'll keep it 25% moon bag. That is, yeah. At one time I sold all my flux about 4 or 5 months ago, and then I bought back 25% of what I held, and that's what I have now. So that's kind of my mood bag, I guess you could say now. I sold it at, I think, 75 cents, like somewhere in that range. And I bought back when it went down to 38 cents, which luckily it was on Flux or on Kraken at the time. So I was able to get it. Vinny Del Greco, MicroStrategy creating another $2 billion in convertible bonds at 0%. Ridiculous 0% free money. Yeah, I don't know Vinny Del Greco with MicroStrategy. I've looked a lot into it because you've mentioned it, and I don't know how they're going to hold on if Bitcoin has a big dip. They have a lot of exposure. I think they're hitting their limits. Maybe they'll need to look at power consumption. I think that's what you meant to say. Yeah, because if you look at every card year over year, right, like 2080 Ti, then 3090, 4090, 5090, I mean, the power keeps going up. But then it'd be interesting. I'm sure there's some chart out there or something where it's like, oh, well, the 5090's 25% better, but it uses 25% more power. So is it better? You know what I mean? Right now, no one even looks at efficiency. No one really cares. So it's something they're going to have to look into, and it'll be interesting to see. That's how you know is when they're kind of hitting the brick wall with that, is when they start mentioning that in their keynotes, where they're like, hey, you get this much power, you get this much performance, but at this much power, which, I mean, you see sometimes, but not on like the high performance cards. But they're eventually going to have to do something, because, I mean, I have a 4090 in my office, and if I'm playing games or something like that, it gets like hot in here. Like it's like I could feel it turns on like a toaster oven over on the bottom. I'm using a really old case. I have a 4090 and all the new stuff, right? The X3Ds and all that fun stuff, but it's in like a 12-year-old case. Actually, it's, what year is it? 25. I got the case in 2011, so it's a 14-year-old case. But it's actually my dad's case. When I was in college, I built my computer, which had this crazy case in it, and then it worked really well. My dad used it, and it was like night and day difference from like whatever Dell thing was he had at his office. So he's like, just build me the same exact thing. And long story short, I sold my case years ago, like years and years ago, but he finally just decommissioned his, and he's like, oh, do you want the case? And I was like, hell yeah, I want the case. So I like retrofitted it, but there's like no fans, like nothing works in the case except for like the internals, so there's no air that's moving. So maybe that's my fault. I don't know. I have all the flux I ever mined, and oh, nice. Yeah, I've mined a lot of flux in my day, but it's been sold, it's been swapped, it's been everything. But no, that's cool being able to see like the transaction, like the history of it and everything. And for taxes, it's easier. You know what I mean? Long-term capital gains, only 20%. Vinny Del Greco, bond market loves MicroStrategy volatility. Unsecured bonds is 0%. Strike price in these bonds around 450 from what I hear. Yeah, Vinny Del Greco, they also had another, what did MicroStrategy do? You would know. It's, what was it? They released another one where it was a different security. Strike? Was it? I don't know. Let me know what it is, Vinny, because it was something where you're guaranteed a buyout from it. What was that called? I don't know, but it's a high dividend, and you're guaranteed a buyout into MicroStrategy shares. Or no, that doesn't make any sense. Preferred stock, strike, yeah, STRK. There, yeah, that's what it was. Where you're guaranteed conversion at, what was the valuation for MicroStrategy? I'm butchering this because I'm trying to remember it as I'm talking. But it comes, the strike stock comes with, it comes with the 8% dividend, but it also gave the holder of the security the ability to the ability to convert it to MicroStrategy shares, like almost like a Class A share, right? Like you can, get enough of Class B shares, you can go to Class A. 1/10. I wanted to say 10 to 1 or 1 to 10. So, but then it also, that values MicroStrategy very, very high. So I don't know. Hobbyist Miner, will Terra be moving out of your Melbourne location once the new location opens? We have to see. Right now, Melbourne is kind of like humming along fine. It's great. We have, I don't want to say we don't have any issues, because then I'm going to wake up with an issue at 2 a.m. But if the new location can provide the proper fiber, then yes, we're going to move Melbourne relatively quick. The chances of the new location having that fiber pipe that we need is probably relatively low. We may be able to skirt by with what we're doing with AI, and compute rentals. Maybe we can just get a bunch of different, just say 5 gigs. I think we can get 10 gig there. But there's a lot more that goes into it, right? It's like, is it shared? Is it dedicated? Is it, do we need our own IP block? Can we rent an IP block or lease an IP block from the ISP? If we do that, how long can we do it for? And then moving the biggest problem, I think, is moving the flux nodes. We have hundreds of those flux nodes on an IP block that we get from Lumen. And if Lumen is not available in this new location, then Mining Kiing is not going to be happy. But we'll have to see. Ideally, it would be great, right? Like, we have a lot of operating expenses in Melbourne that we would like to get rid of, and we want to have everything consolidated into one. Our whole vision at Terra was always having a flex facility. Unfortunately, in Missouri, that was like the plans. We had plans for it. Everything was submitted, and that's stories for another day. But we always wanted a flex site, and we wanted a load balance power on the crypto side with AI, right? Like, if we wanted to use the crypto to reserve the power for AI. And, we've bounced around so many different ideas, but, if we owned a lot of land and we had a lot of power, one revenue stream that we could do is maybe we could sell an acre of land and guarantee on that acre of land that you have this much power. And we can guarantee that because we own the property, and we could just wind down some of the crypto side. And do it that way. Maybe build a couple micro data centers, or, for lease out micro data centers to people. Because we think that would be attractive in the current market, is a lot of these kind of people in the middle, right, where they have like a makeshift data center like we have in Melbourne, being able to rent them, a couple thousand square feet and guaranteed power. I think everyone knows that the big thing right now is energy. It's a huge thing going on right now with energy. So I don't know if short story long, Hobbyist Miner. Yeah, if we can have the proper fiber, then we're going to move it there. If we don't have the proper fiber, we're probably still going to try to move it there. We know we have fiber, which is good, right? So if it isn't the best fiber, we could probably just get a couple shared lines and make something work just to get rid of Melbourne. Melbourne's pretty expensive. We pay, our overhead in Melbourne's about $15K a month, I would say. It's a good amount. So, getting rid of that would be ideal. And again, having it in a location where everything is just all in one, right? That's really what we want. MicroStrategy bonds are all unsecured. BTC price would have to go to around 16K and stay there for like 6 months before they would have to change anything. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. You know a hell of a lot more than I do about this, Vinny Del Greco. Around $800 a share, $80 share price when it's sold. What's Strike at now? Because I saw it when it was at like 72 or something, and I saw that they also had a price that would be an auto buyout or something for it. Is interesting. Scott Sheffield, I have an acre of land out here in Fort Worth, and we can get 56K dial up. Yeah. We were talking with one group that does a lot of these crypto mining sites, and they use Starlink for everything now. They said it was a complete game changer, and like they have no issues running, 1,000 machines on a Starlink terminal. So now when they're looking at plots of land, of course, power's a thing. How far away is it from, a power station or substation? And how much is it going to cost to get the power there? But a big thing everyone was kind of worried about was like, how am I going to get internet here? Especially these places in the middle of nowhere. If you're butted up against a power station, it's probably not, next to a bunch of apartments or housing, that has the infrastructure there. So I know it's always an issue, but it's kind of just awesome now that you can just throw up a Starlink terminal and have you power 1,000 different devices. Strikes at $95, Vinny Del Greco? No way, really? Let me pull that up. Let's pull up. Let's get some stock stuff going. Present Yahoo Finance. There we go. Oh my God, Vinny Del Greco. It's at $95. Yeah, when they did their IPO, did they IPO this? Is that what it was? I don't know if that's the right term for it. Yeah, I saw it dip. It must have just dipped the first day then. Yeah. It's crazy. Do you get any of this, Vinny Del Greco? Scott Sheffield, nuclear power plant not far away from here. Comanche Peak. Interesting. Yeah, I'm big into the nuclear stuff on the energy side. I know I've talked about that before on a couple different shows. That's going to be a huge thing. It's cutting red tape for energy. And doing this, I've always been huge into nuclear power. You know what I mean? I know that there's always like these disasters, right? Like HBO shows about Chernobyl and all these weird radiation things, but I mean, that was a long time ago. You know, all the disasters that we had were a long time ago when you think about it in terms of safety, in terms of technology, and all the advancements that have happened. Vinny Del Greco is all in on common shares. Nice. Yeah, what's let's actually go over to MicroStrategy now. Was it MS Micro SM? I'm not going to look it up. What's Micro? MSC? Fuck it. Okay, MicroStrategy. What was it? MSTR. Why can I never? It's so simple. It's so simple. I should remember it. Let's see what happened here. Okay, these are just analyst ratings and stuff. MSTR, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're still trading real high. Let's see, we got Compass Mining. Is this Compass Mining? What's their market cap? 5.6, yeah, probably then. It's always interesting seeing these guys. There's that Bitcoin conference over in Las Vegas. Terra's been talking about that for a little bit, trying to figure out what we're going to do for that. But Compass, I think, was there. But Riot was there. Core Scientific was there. Seeing all those companies and what they're doing is very cool. Terra's doing a lot of similar things, except for immersion. We haven't gotten into immersion yet. But never say never, right? Who knows? Preferred stock has the dividends, but limits the upside versus common stock. Preferred stock, less risk, less return. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just crazy. Hopefully the markets stay up. I know Bitcoin's been kind of quiet recently, which in my head is kind of good, right? Like going sideways for a while is good. A year ago, if you were like, hey, Bitcoin's going to trade at 95K for a couple months, everyone would be like, hell yeah, you know? So some sideways action is good. It has delivered since all the ATM shares being sold over the last 2 months. MicroStrategy stock has been correlates closely to BTC chopping. Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like I kind of see. I've said that to a couple of people that are like, hey, you know, should I buy this coin? Should I do that coin? I'm like, honestly, if you want exposure to like Bitcoin and you don't want to, and you don't understand all of it, MicroStrategy is probably your best bet. Delevered, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I've never bought MicroStrategy stock, but not saying I wouldn't, but I probably would. You know, I guess it's a good way to do it for like a retirement account, like a managed IRA or something like that. Being able to, or a 401k that you can manage yourself to get exposure in that, because I know there's a lot of people that want to have crypto exposure in their retirement accounts, and whatever way it's set up now, they're unable to do so. So having that ability is kind of nice. How do I get back to MicroStrategy? There we go. But yeah, it's interesting, very interesting stuff. But that's pretty much everything, guys. I know we've been going for about an hour and a half, and there's not a whole lot of news with crypto mining. Got to be honest. I mean, I talked to a lot of the guys in the industry, and it's kind of like, you don't, especially like on this show, me and Dave, like, we don't want to like force find things, right? Like, hey, this is what's happening in GPU mining or something like that. We try to keep it more business focused, but it's it's just been so quiet in the mining game. The AI stuff has been kind of quiet too, so not a lot going on, and I think that reflects the price too, right? If Bitcoin was at 110K, there'd probably a lot of exciting shit would be going on. Honestly, if it was down at 70K, there'd probably be a lot of exciting stuff going on, because then you could get crazy yields on all these coins that are dropping and hash rates dropping, people freaking out. There's a lot going on. Right now, though, it's like calm waters, which I don't know is good or bad. You know, you can look at a million different charts. That's what I had up originally, where these, I could share it really quick, the cycle charts here, just before we get going here. This site is bitbo.io. I know I've been shilling these guys for a while. I don't get anything back from it, obviously. I don't think my channel is sponsored by anyone. We are taking sponsorships, though. I'm just kidding. I think we are in a wait and see mode right now. I think so too, Scott. I agree wholeheartedly. Was this FASB accounting change for Q1 will send MicroStrategy to the moon, will add 20 to 30 billion based on new account and BTC stack. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Vinny. It's maybe I'll throw some money into MicroStrategy. Right now I have to be honest, about a week ago I finally closed out my last position in the markets, and I'm all cash right now. Like, I have a self-managed IRA, and I used to have a traditional one when I worked at in the legal field. I had one, and then when I started working for myself doing GPURisers and everything, I converted it over to like an IRA, like a self-managed one. And I've been kind of trading stocks in there because all the gains are like unrealized, because it's a retirement account. So I don't have to worry about short-term or long-term or anything. I kind of have more fun with it. But as of last week, I sold, actually, no, as of yesterday, which I should have held on until today, I sold my last stock, which was Super Micro. And then they went up again 10% today. So that was a 200 IQ move on my end. But I think I'm pretty much like 98% cash right now, kind of waiting, to see where things are. I want to get back in the energy stocks, but they rose so quickly. Of course, as soon as I sold them, they kept going up. Just keep it's like a rocket. I'm just on Earth, just waving to it as it keeps going. But it's kind of just wanting to. The water's calm right now, and there might be a lot of upside, but I also don't really want to risk the downside right now. But I do want to have some exposure in my retirement accounts for crypto for now. So besides the flux that I'm holding, right, and I have some Bitcoin and stuff, but it would be nice to kind of mess around with it in the retirement account. I'll look into that tomorrow. D-Pin for the win. Travels, what's up, man? Any thoughts on RLUSD? XRP stable, USDT looks to be in trouble. I don't know anything about that. I'm not a huge Ripple fan, but I don't know anything about it, though. I'll look into it. Mr. Joker Miner with the $20 super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Got my taxes done with no issues. Maybe need you next year. Yeah, that's good. It's it's not the hardest thing in the world, as long as you're organized throughout the year and stuff like that. And it's good to know. I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about finance by doing other people's taxes. Seeing how they operate, why they need this information before year end, and how to run their business and honestly their life, right? So learning to do your own taxes, I think, is huge, and it's good because you see where you're at, right? You just don't, have someone else doing it and spitting out a number and not really understanding, hey, did I lose money doing this crypto mining or AI? Did I make money? Did I, what's my trading activities like? it makes you go through all your 1099s, right, from your brokerage accounts, or whichever crypto ones. I don't even know if they provide 1099s, but you guys know what I mean. It forces you to look at it and look at your life as like on a sheet of paper financially, and be able to make better decisions. I think it's important. Even though I do tax returns now, I am shilling and advocating people to do it, to learn. You know what I mean? It's important. But I appreciate it, Joker Miner, for the $20 super chat. You can always reach out to me if anyone has these tax questions. Let me know. I do have a couple clients that I'm doing taxes for, and as usual, it's a lot more than I anticipated. So it's everyone has their own situation, their own story. And but it's, again, it kind of reminds me back when I did federal taxes as an attorney. For some people, when you just see how people operate, and you learn a lot through it. And even every time I do it, and every time I hop on the phone with someone with taxes and what they're doing, it's just a unique thing. I really do enjoy it. But tell me next time you sell, I move in. Yeah. That's how you know. If I'm selling stuff, the market's gonna just skyrocket. But I am gonna hold cash for a little bit. I did fairly well with like some energy stocks and like Oklo and stuff like that, and Nvidia, and I sold Nvidia a little bit ago at near its all-time high, and I just was like, I wanted to just kind of pump the brakes, see where things go. And it's okay to take some chips off the table sometimes, but it's I could get more chips, could get more. Max Voltage, how to go fix a Zebra printer fun. Speaking of fun, having fun trading the range on LTC. Yeah, I saw you, Max, talking about that. What was it, LTC? I think you were putting out some tweets about that. Was it that? I can't remember now. I think I'm mixed up. What do you mean about the range on it, Max? I Trust Capital, where my wife's RA is. I Trust Capital, huh? Do they do crypto stuff, Max? Did you do a video on how best to kind of structure things as a home miner for taxes? Yes, I did. That's an old video. I think my screen is frozen. Do you guys see my camera? Oh, look at that. I'm just completely stuck. Hold on, let me try to see what that is. All right, let's see if that worked. Nope. Look at that, just frozen. All right, well, you guys are gonna have to see a bubble for the next couple minutes. Yeah, I did do a video on taxes and kind of like how to structure it if you're a home miner and take advantage. The big thing is like there's a lot of people that don't take advantage of the deductions, and like that's the whole thing is you're taking a risk to get into this, and a lot of people get into it for profit, right? That's the number one thing you kind of have to ask yourself is, are you doing this as a hobby, or are you doing this to make money? If you're doing it to make money, then it's a business, right? In effect. So that's the first question that you have to ask yourself. And if you're doing it for that, then it's okay to set it up and structure it as such and take those deductions. Because you're taking a risk. You're taking an investment risk to start a business to hopefully earn money, and you should be able to write those things off. But I've met a lot of people that don't write any of it off, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, I did do a video. It's been years, but a lot of it still applies. But from the clients I've taken so far, very just interesting situations. Like I said, you always learn something new. The guys so far that I have on aren't home miners. They have quite a few ASICs, no GPUs, but a lot of it for them is kind of tax planning. And writing these machines off and kind of being proactive, kind of in around the September and October time of the year, assessing what your tax liability is, assessing, what your income is going to be, which is going to, trickle down to how much tax you owe, your tax liability, and then be able to make educated guesses from that, right? That's what tax planning is all about. So it's getting kind of proactive about that for these guys. Max voltage. Are we talking about taxes now? Yeah. No, I did not see natural gas prices today. Selling between 120 to 135. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of thought about doing that with a couple different cryptos, because you just look at the chart and it's just like this. It just bobs up and down like the tide, you know. Yeah, exactly. Saying selling around 135 and buying around 120. I've noticed that with Flux. I was talking with someone about this the other day. It's that's why at 38 cents I finally bought it, because it's been like sitting at 40 cents to 50 cents to 60 cents, like kind of just going up and down, you know, month over month. And so it's kind of like, you know, if it hits 60 cents, maybe I'll sell it. I don't know. If I sell it, I'll let you guys know, because then you know it's going to $5. So, but I know it's interesting. It's kind of, have you had good success with that so far, Max? I'm too chicken to trade the ranges in fear of the breakout. Yeah, it can always happen. Don't you have to be a business or a LLC to claim mining stuff on taxes? Travelers Travels, no, you do not. That's also another misconception, I think, that you know, some people have. You don't need to be incorporated at all. You can run a business as an individual and write deductions and, you know, have normal expenses as if it's a business. So it's a lot of people think, and I understand why, right? Like it's a normal thing to kind of look at it and be like, oh, well, I have to register a business, I have to do this, I have to do that. But I mean, you could, you know, buy and sell stuff locally on, you know, Facebook Marketplace, right? Like just say you're buying furniture and fixing it and then selling it. You know, you can write off expenses against that. You know, if you use tools to fix it, or you have to buy a new drill, or you have to buy wood stain. I mean, all of that's expenses against what you're doing, right? You're not going and picking up old furniture and fixing it for fun as a hobby. Maybe you are, but you know, if you're doing it to make money, then that's a business. So you could be a sole proprietor. Yeah, exactly. You don't need an EIN. You don't need a registered business. There are benefits to having that. One of the clients I have now, he has been running things like that, right? It's just a Schedule C on your individual tax return, and you know, just say it's called crypto mining or whatever. He does a bunch of other stuff, but there is advantages to having it as a business, but it has, you know, I don't know, it's so different for everyone. So I'm speaking just generally here. It's you know, if you're running it as a business and you have a business return, I'm just going to use Florida as examples. I'm not going to do any state that has tax, but for Florida, we don't have a state income tax or anything. So if you're registered here and you have a business, if you get distributions from that business, like a K1, that income is not subject to, you know, like Social Security tax and like a lot of these other smaller taxes. Whereas if you don't have a business, then it's all just on your personal return, then it's all just going to be income, and it's going to be taxed as that, like self-employment income tax and stuff like that. So there's different times that I think it's worth incorporating. If you're going to incur any kind of liability, it's worth incorporating. Like the AI thing, right? Like I know in the beginning with the AI run, it's so weird seeing me as a bubble. I know I'm kind of just ranting now. Yeah, still frozen. But in the beginning with the AI stuff, it was like, okay, well, can I be liable if I'm renting my AI stuff to people on Fast? Could I be liable for, you know, someone renting my machine and, you know, breaking into the, you know, NASA's database or something or whatever, you know what I mean? Like something that illegal. How do I know what my machine's being rented for? All those questions, I don't want to say go away, but those questions and the answers to those questions change when you have a company. If you spend, you know, the couple $100 to incorporate, then you're kind of shielded with, you know, it's what's called limited liability. It limits your liability to the business activities. Now there's tons of ways you could pierce that. They call it piercing the corporate veil. But you know, someone did if you're worried about stuff like that, right? If you're just a worry wart, which I am sometimes with stuff, and you're like, okay, I don't know what they're going to do with my machines, then just incorporate. Do your research and stuff like that, but at least incorporate, get an umbrella over you. And if something like that happens and they're seeking damages, they're going to seek damages from your company. And, as long as there's not any willful and negligent, willful negligence or, or any fraud or anything like that, anything that could pierce the corporate veil, which is specific things, absence of any of that, they're going to sue a company. And if the company goes under, they can't come after you personally. Now, they'll probably sue you personally, but that won't really work. But at least you're not going to lose your house. You're not going to lose everything, but the company will, right? So there are reasons to incorporate. And for the price of incorporation, I think it's always worth it. Like if you're even asking yourself these questions, or if you're mining in a commercial place and there's even a possibility of it lighting a fire and burning some business owner's inventory next to you, like just incorporate. It saves you the headache of worrying about this all the time. But yeah, you could definitely be a sole proprietor and do all of this traveler's travels. You can write it off as a business, as long as it's not a hobby, right? That's why I said the first question you got to ask yourself: is this a hobby, or am I doing this to make money? How do I report income from my OnlyFans account? Yeah, you should get a 1099 video, Del Greco. Got it for your hemorrhoid cream sales. God, they must make a lot. Cool, thanks. Yeah, of course, man. What are we piercing again? The corporate veil. It's I can't remember. Like, it was law school was a while ago, but it's what is it? It's they could pierce it for, I know, taxes, right? Like if you're not paying taxes, they could pierce it, come after you personally. Fraud, they can pierce it and come after you personally. Anything criminal, personally. And then I think on the negligence side, it has to be, I think willful negligence, or I forgot the legal term for it, but it's basically being like you're so stupid you should have known this. You know what I mean? Like it's like it speaks for itself here. Like I can't remember exactly what it is, but yeah, it's basically that. Prince Albert, Man Cave Tech. Is it okay to use IRC Section 1031 election to swap 30? A like-kind exchange is what the 1031 is. That is for rental properties, but yeah, it's an interesting question. I've done some work for some clients where they do the 1031 exchanges, always trying to find another property to roll the lower basis in. But no, I know it's a joke, Man Cave Tech, but it's probably better to sell the 3090s. Probably going to have to reclaim some of that depreciation that you might have used the Section 179 to take in that year. And then buy a 4090, which is going to be more expensive, which gives you another thing to depreciate. And if you do have any depreciation that you had to recapture, then now you have a 4090 that can go against that. So it's called tax planning. And but I see a lot of people at the end of the year rush around, trying to find tax deductions. Like, I got to do this. I want to save money. But I also tell some of my clients a lot of the time, it's good to show income. You get lower, interest rates on things. You have more buying power. If you're in the market for homes, you're able to get larger loans. You want to have good income. It's a good thing to have. So, if you're in the fortunate situation where, you're doing pretty well every year, I'm all about finding deductions and doing that. And there's a healthy mix for it, but sometimes it's nice to take the chips off the table and just have income. And yeah, you're going to get taxed on it, but you only get taxed that one time, unless you buy something and get charged sales tax, or unless you invested in something and have a gain and then you get charged on the gain. I think we're taxed a little too much. I'm not a huge fan of that, but you don't want to go year over year not showing any income. I did that for a couple years when I kind of started GPURisers and stuff like that. It was it's not that I didn't want to show any income. Obviously, it was that I it's a startup, that all my expenses were those first 2 years, but those 2 years were hard. I was not used to not having income or not being able to show it. You know what I mean? Like I was used to W-2s, and all of a sudden I would be applying for, different things, and, not getting approvals for stuff. And they're like, oh, well, we need to see your W-2. Oh, well, I don't have a W-2. Well, we need to see your tax return. I'm going to send my tax return, and it has, so much money I invested in GPURisers. It was like, oh, well, you only made like 10 grand this year. And it's like, well, yeah, they're like, well, yeah, we're not going to loan you anything, so it's good to show income and take some money off the table, guys. So, hemorrhoid cream sales. Vinny Del Greco is the one that started the hemorrhoid cream thing. Starker. But yeah, guys, taxes are fun. I know everyone's kind of doing taxes now. Business tax returns, I think, are due mid-March, and then all the personals are due April. So if anyone has any tax questions, feel free to reach out to me. All that kind of stuff. I know, or maybe we could do an AMA next Wednesday for some tax questions. So if you guys have anything specific, bring it, and I'd like to talk to you guys about it, and we can go from there. But I hate seeing the government get more money than they should be getting. So it just doesn't sit right with me. So make sure you're taking advantage of the tax code. And I don't mean that in a weird, bad way. I mean it in a, the IRS, it does allow for, entrepreneurs to be successful, and it gives people the tools through deductions and expenses for people to go out on a limb and try something. That's kind of the American way is doing that. And unfortunately, none of this is ever taught in school, and no one, the government doesn't want you to know this stuff, but it's there to, help you and to take advantage of it. You can get taxes back from your regular W-2 while trying to venture off and start your AI rental or crypto mining company. So bring some questions next week. Sovereign citizen, no taxes. Exactly, Vinny Del Greco. Exactly. That's why we need to branch off Key West from the rest of the country. It could be the Conch Republic, where we have no taxes. We just would need FEMA for the hurricanes, which then would be through taxes, but we'd figure that out. We'd figure it out at some point. Wyoming LLC. Yeah, I know that there's some state. Well, no, never mind. But yeah, it's incorporate if you want to incorporate, but if you have any liability, I suggest incorporating. And you sleep better at night. Trust me on that. So, but all right, guys, we've been going for about almost 2 hours now. We got 60 people watching, 26 people on X, 34 on YouTube. Anyone watching on X, if you guys are commenting, I'm sorry, I have no idea how to read it. I will eventually figure it out, but hop over to YouTube if you guys do want to chat with all of us here. If you guys have tax questions, hit me with it next week, and we'll go through it. This show is supposed to be kind of mostly geared towards business and everything like that, so we kind of lean more into that. But I appreciate everyone watching, and I hope everyone has a solid rest of their week. And everyone that's not in Florida, I hope you guys stay warm and have a bunch of blankets and watch for ice everywhere. So the ERS to save the day, the External Revenue Service, exactly. Mr. Hot Crypto Mining is Hot Crypto and Tech is tagging me. Mike, I think we're wrapping up, but again, guys, thanks so much for checking in. We're going to be on Dave's channel next week for Wired Wednesdays, and we promise we'll be more consistent with this stuff. So I appreciate you guys hanging out on the solo show with me today. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Take it easy, guys. Bye.